Well, good morning. Welcome back to Mill Yard. My name is Bill. This is Pirate Solutions Forestry, and we're putting the roof on the shed. Finally, was able to order the stuff from Home Depot and go down and get it. It was an absolute disaster. I spent half a day there yesterday. They had packed my order and didn't know where it was, and it wasn't where it was supposed to be. And I'm like, come on, guys, it's 12 feet long and 4 feet wide. I mean, how hard can it be to find? And it was stuffed off in the garden center somewhere in the corner. Finally ended up finding it. My order was missing the ridge cap. They had put two pieces of J channel in there instead of ridge cap. And so I said, well, these aren't mine. And they looked at the guy's paperwork and he had checked off ridge cap and put two pieces of J channel in there. Then they went looking for the ridge cap and couldn't find it. So they credited me back to ridge cap. I came back with my panels and my drip edge for the eaves here, and cut the panels in half at 6 feet, so it was 12 foot long. I just cut them with a regular circular saw. I'll show you how they cut out. I cut them all at the same time, so I just lined them up right here on the bench and then just cut it off with a regular circular saw. Cut perfectly fine. Of course, I trashed the blade, but worked perfectly fine. So I have 6 foot panels going up on each side. Now, I was thinking about cutting them back a little bit. And going with like 5'6" and but I when I set one up there, I really like the overhang the way it is. And to be honest with you, I think this overhang is really going to protect stuff here. Uh, I think it's great like that. So I'm going to leave it. I like the way it looks. The only problem that I had was so I dimensioned this whole roof for and my fly rafters to end up at a final dimension of just a shade less than 12 feet, because these panels say they have 3 foot coverage. So I started flush on the outside out here on my rake. And when I got to this side, I ended up with like an inch and a half overhang because the 3 foot doesn't work with that rib. I wish I had known that. So if you see the bottom of that rib right there is flush to the outside, so I could have cut that off, and I still might cut it off later. I am going to put it in, and I think I'm going to leave it. It is good protection for the bad storms here. So this is facing south. So our bad storms here, the bad storms, are going to come from the northeast from that way. Most of our weather comes from the west. Okay, most of our everyday weather comes from the west over there, but our real bad nor'easters in the wintertime blow out of that direction, and this might give us a little bit more protection up there. Not that I'm super worried about it. It's a shed and it's going to be fine. I did cut my drip edge up top so that when I used a continuous piece and notched it so that my seam ended up vertical, and I also did stop my drip edge at the edge of the root, the edge of the fascia, so that it wasn't showing on the inside. And I'm not crazy about that look. I decided to go square with it like that because um, of the square end of the rake trim. I'm not crazy about it, but it's a shed, and I'll live with it. I think I would have rather plumb cut that, but I didn't want a plumb cut on that, and then that I would have had to plumb cut them both, I think, to make it look different. But I really like the overhang. It's coming out nice and straight. It's coming down. It's going down nice and flat. I'm on the backside now. I've got 2 panels up. My problem is that I just can't walk around in that stuff. So I still have my kickboard in there to be able to go up there, so I can put in screws all down the bottom and halfway up. And then I've got to climb up and go kind of scurry down the ridge to put my top 2 rows of screws in. I think I can manage one more panel and put a piece of a board up there and do that one and have 3 of them all done. And then I think when I put the outside panel in here with no kickboard, I believe I can just set a ladder up here and go up there and probably reach across and fill those couple in, and I do have to, I might put a few more on that, on the edge of that. I shot a video last night, and I'm sorry, not last night, 2 nights ago, when I was making the door frame, and I put it up for a little while, and then the first comment I got about it, they were right in a sense, but they jumped the gun a little on me. I'm going to explain it in a second here, and I end up taking the video down. So what I'm talking about on the edge, I might run a row of screws right, same distance apart, but up very, very close to the edge. It's already got a set on that side. This side, I kind of wanted them in the middle of the panel. So I think I just might run a separate setup, that rake anyway. I have to get up there on a ladder to do it. But I'm going to pause you guys. Oh, mechanics gloves. Let's get on to that before I go on to the door frame and why I took that video down. So mechanics gloves, this pair of prototype mechanics gloves have built this entire shed except for the base. I've been wearing them every day. It was cold this morning. In and out of my tool belt, grabbing these little roofing screws and holding on to them and firing them down through your fingers and stuff is going to take its toll. I would imagine by the time that I'm done with the roof and the door, these will have holes in them, but they've held up really good so far. These are Utility Pro. It's a prototype pair. Mechanic sends them to me to test for them and tell them what I like and what I don't like about them. There's not a lot not to like about these. These are really comfortable. They've really worn in well, kind of like the previous pair I tried out too, and they've got my feedback on those. I'm starting to lose the ability to use the phone with them. Matter of fact, I'm going to come around and try and pause you with it and see if I can pause without kicking this video off. All right, so yeah, it's not pausing. So whatever I've done to the fingertips, I've lost the ability to use the phone, at least gently, because I'm trying to do it gently, because if I hit the wrong button, the video will go away. So obviously I can't sign into my phone with the thumb, so I have to take one off to use my thumbprint. But so far, I really, really like these for working in. I'm in and out of my tool belt all day. They work fine. They're warm, they're comfortable, easy on and off. I think these are going to be a home run. They're prototypes right now, so these aren't out on the market yet, but I think that this is a really, really nice pair. So I wanted to get that blurb in there for mechanics, but I'm going to pause you and I'm going to grab my door frame and explain to you why I took the video down. So 2 nights ago, I came down just for a couple hours to try and get rid of some nervous energy, and I wanted to build the door frame and I wanted to video it. And it's, pretty obviously this part of the frame, it's going to have bracing in it too, so that it can't sag. It'll be hinged on this side over here, so it opens out like this. When you do your own framing, typical gap on something like this is somewhere around a 1/2 inch. All right, so you'd run a 1/2 inch. You'd cut your dimension for your frame a 1/2 inch smaller than the hole in both directions. Like say for a window, 1/2 inch usually gives you enough room. This side, or I will end up picking whichever side is straighter for my jam side, and it will sit right up against the edge and will open away from it. So when it closes, it doesn't necessarily need a closure on the inside because it's going to close against the 4-inch flat. Like I said, I'll put bracing in. You won't see it except from the inside. And then this will get barn boarded just like my siding and trimmed just like my trim. And I'll put some sort of funky brace, fake brace on the outside in the trim. So it'll look cool. I cut this a 1/4 inch smaller than the hole, which obviously goes without saying is too tight. I understand that. I understand that this isn't going to swing open that tight. It does need to be clearanced a little bit. How I'm going to do that, I'm not sure yet, but I won't have a problem doing it. When you do your own framing and you know everything's plumb and really square, you can tighten that ½ inch down. The ½ inch is there for discrepancies in the framing. However, with the thickness of this, we understand that the geometry, when it opens, that back corner is going to kick out a little bit, and that's too tight. So probably what I'm going to do, and the reason that it's so tight, don't get me wrong, I could have made this 2 inches smaller in both dimensions and then just use the cladding on the outside to fill up the hole. The reason it's so big and beefy is that I want to be able to lock the shed up. I want a full door. I want something that's solid. I don't want something that's going to be easy to get in and easy to get out of. And I also want it fairly tight because I want it so that no mice can get through the edges and the openings and stuff. I know that I have to have some room. I understand that. This is not my first rodeo. I built hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gates and doors in very, very high-end funky applications on showers and buildings and outbuildings for people. Similar jobs to this. I've done hundreds and hundreds of them. So it's not my first rodeo. I know what I want. I know I want a tight fit, and I will clearance it so that it opens and shuts. And I'll show you when I put it in the hole here how tight it is. So obviously, it's fairly tight. Too tight. That can go that way. So when this opens, when there's a hinge on here, this side's got to be able to pull out. It can almost pull out now, but it can't. So the back side of this is going to have to be clearanced. I probably will just rip an angle on it. I got clearance here for screws. Probably just make sure that I have clearance on the end for my screw, or I'll grind the end, and I'll probably just rip an angle down this thing, or plane an angle down this thing, and just do it until it opens and shuts. It's most likely what I'm going to do, but that is why I took the video down. So the first question I got, the first comment I got is, well, that thing at 4 inches thick is never going to open in that hole. I understand that. I know it's going to be clearanced. And I said in the video that this is just the start. When I put the braces in it and stuff like that, this thing is going to change shape a little bit. And then what I'll do is I will clad one side of it and put one piece of trim on it. And I will end up sticking it in the hole and fastening it in place. I'll use shims to shim it into the middle of the hole, kind of like these. So I'll shim it into the middle of the hole and shim it so it's braced so it can't move. And then I will clad it right in place and trim it right in place to fit the hole so there's not much gap. I don't want enough room for mice to get through this thing. Now, I could have done it different. I could have left this door trim out till later, which might have been a better idea. And then when I did my trim on this door, made it bigger so it overlapped the outside, so it shut against it. Could have done that. In hindsight, I probably should have done that. I don't typically do it that way. Sometimes when I'm shooting with plywood, if it's on a different somebody else's shed and it's got like T111 on the outside or something like that, I'll leave a lip over the T111 and cut the T111 back so that it has a closure. I didn't do it in this case. I'll make it work, I promise. It will be tight. I will trim it so it's tight. I'll probably use screws in the beginning just to get my trim and set in place. And then when I've got the door so that it can open, I will clad it and trim it really, really tight to the hole so that there's no gaps or teeny gaps. And if it's got to be push shut, I don't really care. As long as it's tight, I want it tight. And obviously, it needs to be clearance to be able to open. So want to fill you guys in, give you guys a look at what's going on. The metal roof's coming out great. I might go a different direction on the ridge cap. I think I'm going to cut a wooden ridge cap. I think 2 reasons. I think I want to leave a nice overhang, probably 6 inches on both sides. And I can do that with with two 13-foot boards, and I've got some 14-footers over there. All I can do is rip a couple angles on them, screw them together, stuff it up there, and it will offset the green roof. Instead of the green ridge cap, you'll have the pine color on the roof, which I think will be cool. Sorry, Craig, I'm not going to paint it red because Kate doesn't want it red. I think that would look cool. I think it would look cool with all the trim red, but she doesn't want it red. So I'm going to leave it probably just straight pine color. I'm still up in the air whether I'm going to burn the shed or not. I might do a burn finish on it. Yakasugi is what it's called. It's not Shoshugi Bond. It's Yakisugi. Um, I might do that, but there's no sense in doing it until the wood's dried out a little bit. So I'll probably wait maybe until next season, the end of next summer. And the summer will dry this out a lot. So maybe next fall, wait 1 year. Then I'll come here, I think, and burn everything. Um, there's just no sense in doing it when it's wet like this. The burning doesn't go deep enough to do anything. And it's pretty easy to do. You can just do it right in place, and that will kind of protect the wood. So that's what's going on. It's Sunday. It's a beautiful day here on the Cape. It's cold this morning, but it's gorgeous out. Got my Norwood gear on to keep myself warm. I'm going to get back up there, finish this roof, make a ridge cap. And then hopefully maybe this afternoon, if I keep going and don't pull myself away for football, finish that door. So, and that will really get me in a good spot. And then this week when I'm cutting pine, I can cut battens when I'm edging. So that's what's going on for myself and for Danny. Danny, I don't know if you can see him or not. He's in his typical spot under the yew tree over there, right at the end of my finger. You can see his head sticking up. He's just taking it all in. And yeah, it's going great. I love the green roof, and it's my first time ever doing metal. Obviously, that I didn't know that was going to happen. Although I don't hate the overhang, I think it'll be fine. Um, and the other side's under the tree, so you're never going to get people comparing the two. So, and it's just a shed, but it's coming out flat. It's coming out nice. Very, very happy. I have one board on each side that was kind of thick that I was afraid was going to put a ridge in my metal, but it didn't. So I'm going to keep at it and fill you guys in later. And for now, for Danny and myself, Power Solutions out.